Hey, Astro Lover, welcome back to I Talk to Planets. This is your host, Claire Gallagher. I am so excited about today's episode. We have a guest episode, which is a rare occurrence on this podcast, but I thought it was high time to talk to my dear friend, Angela Ryder. We've been talking a lot about planet channeling on the podcast, and I've been doing a lot of planet channeling in my one-on-one sessions, and I thought it was high time to have a conversation about what it means to be intuitive and if anybody can be a channel. Angela Ryder is an intuitive guide, energy psychic, and channel whose work is focused on helping people find clarity for their next steps and reconnect with their own inner wisdom. She works with spirit teams to blend clear, practical guidance, supportive energy work, and psychic perceptions that reveal what's going on and what's ready to shift. Her sessions offer useful insight and energetic recalibration to support your intuition and ability to make new choices. I'm thrilled to offer this interview to you today. Enjoy, and I'll see you afterwards. Hi, Angela. Thank you
Hi,
so much
Claire.
for being on the show. I'm so excited to talk to you.
I'm excited to talk to you too. It's been a long time of something that I've wanted to do, so thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's been a brewing like a good cup of coffee. We were just talking before the show that yes, the rumors are true. I have started drinking coffee again, and it's glorious.
Yeah.
Yep. So, this conversation is a long time coming. I'm so excited to talk to you about all of things channeling and intuition. And speaking of coffee, before we get into, we're going to dive deep real quick. That's just how we work. But what is your favorite when you're doing planet channeling? Because I know you do a lot of different types of channeling, but when you're doing planet channeling, what is your favorite beverage and what is your favorite notebook to write in?
I always drink water, room temperature water. That's just my thing. That's always what I have. It feels like it cleanses the palate, clear channel, doesn't get involved in anything else. And the notebook I use is just those cheap green and white ones that are lined, and you can tear pages out. You can go back to them anytime. Just cheap and trashy, like you always say, keep it cheap and trashy.
I love it. Yeah. Yeah, I have my cheap and trashy spiral notebook from Kroger across the street, and that works perfectly for me.
Yeah.
I must say that I'm impressed with just the water, the room temperature water. I feel like I always need some type of beverage prop when I'm sitting down, but I totally respect and understand how water feels like it would keep things clear, and that's good.
Yeah.
Um,
I get
so
the having a beverage with a handle on it,
yeah.
because then you feel like you're really meeting a planet for coffee or the scoop or the tea. So I get that.
Maybe I should just put my water in a mug and that'll make me feel better.
There's that.
Or that. So I'm dying to know, like, looking back over your life, you know, as a professional intuitive, was there a moment when you were like, oh, I'm kind of hooked in to things that other people are not? Was there a moment when you realized you were intuitive?
There were several times throughout my life, but my cognitive or framework for them was a little bit different. So being around five or six and being around more adults and children and realizing someone could be standing there lying to my face and I would have the understanding that they were lying and hear the actual things that were going on and then call them out. And when you do that with adults and you reveal secrets that no one should know, you learn really quickly that that's not a very safe place. And so then I learned that not everybody was doing that. And so that was one way I learned, okay, if I'm getting information, is it for me? What can I do about it? Because I can't do anything about what other people say. And Then another time was realizing in my mid 20s, oh, I'm actually an intuitive because I had a word for it then.
Mhm.
Again, mind you, I am 60, I'm 62. I had to think. I'm 62. And so in my mid 20s, I really didn't get exposed to the language of intuition or psychic or channeling until around then. I don't think I called myself a channel, but I did see that I was very intuitive and I would have a lot of psychic hits. And then studied a little bit just to get some framework of understanding of my own abilities. But again, that was during a time period where I was working 50, 60 hours a week in medical science. So all the applications of that psychic and intuitive energy was kind of focused on, business and that. And then when I retired from that career about 13 years ago, and really started working with people, I studied with a teacher that gave me some more information and understanding about energies, guides. And from her framework, I was then able to tap more into like, oh, I don't necessarily work like that, but this is how that works for me.
Mhm.
So big differences based on where I was at the time and what I was exposed to in my understanding of it and what my need and use of it was.
Yeah.
So,
So it sounds like you were hooked in at a very young age and maybe
yeah.
received some feedback that, oh, that's not good. And so kind
Yeah.
of did it lie dormant for a while until your
It
20s?
Yeah, not necessarily dormant, but I really learned how to block a lot of it out because
Hmm.
it was just static. It was just noise. It was too much and it was very disturbing because with those thoughts and everything, being an open receiver meant I got the energy and emotions, and that's a lot for a person to take in that doesn't have any context or no agency to do anything about it. So
Yeah,
I kind of
absolutely.
toned it down just for my own knowing.
Yeah. And when you were older and you sought out some teaching, did that help you with the monitoring, like the volume level of what you were receiving?
Um, that didn't come until, 13 years ago of really understanding the energy dynamics of what I was receiving. But learning, like in my 20s, about psychic information, I learned to tune the channel for other people and for myself. Like, oh, I want to know something about this, and like scanning. It's like, oh, okay, get that piece of information. It happened most clearly when I was doing readings for other people, like tarot readings or something. I could just slip into that space and it would flow through. So it gave me an idea that, oh, I'm really receiving something because that wasn't coming from me. I wouldn't have come up with that.
Yeah, that's super interesting. As someone who is beginning their journey of channeling on behalf of another in my sessions with planet channeling, it it's interesting to feel the switch between channeling for yourself and channeling with someone else's permission. Do you feel like they're different skill sets, or how do you see that?
It's an expanded set. To be a clear channel for yourself is key. And then you understand how you receive that information. And in order to be a clear channel for another, you have to understand how that works and then be able to work in that space for another. So it's an expanded skill set. And it does take, yeah, it takes a different practice in being able to be clear, setting aside your own expectations and projections and logic mind, and be able to be clear and receive. And the way I look at it is doing channeling for another person is I am experienced and practiced at setting that aside and being the interface to help receive information. And my deal with my spirit team is I don't want anything that's not practical, that's not useful. That's, I don't want psychic debris because what's that going to do? So,
Hmm.
kind of knowing how you're going to work for another and with another step really comes from being able to do that for yourself. So
Yeah.
it's not necessarily different per se. It's an expanded, refined skill set, to be
Yeah.
clear.
I love the very clear parameters that you give your spirit team about I want it to be practical, I want it to be useful. I think that's something that everyone listening can take into their planet channeling practice. Um, I push back on planets all the time. Like today, I had a planet channeling session with a client and I was receiving stuff that felt too pie in the sky. And I said, can you say that a different way? Can you be more practical with that? What's the first step? And so, for anyone listening, don't be afraid to push back and ask for the entity to be more clear.
Absolutely. No one needs to have misinformation or information that is 10 steps ahead, um, because then how do you get there? It's, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, since I'm on this journey of like opening my channel up for others, I'm so curious your thoughts on channeling as something that you're born with, like the ability to do it, or channeling, is it something that we can learn to do? And I realize this might just be an opinion, but I'm so curious what your thoughts are on channeling as a skill. Like, can anyone refine that, or is it just a select few?
I think everybody, and again, this is my perception, from what little I've studied, gave me an idea, but mostly this comes from working with my team, them giving me a frame of reference. But everybody comes in with all the wiring, our intuition, our psychic senses that expand out to be an interface with our higher self and our spirit teams. So everybody comes in. Some people's aperture or channels for that circuitry is a little more robust, more intact. And, there's some people who come in and they've seen beings since they were babies. So some people come in with that. I think where we start questioning if anybody can learn to channel or be intuitive is because we also are in a society that will condition us and tell us we aren't experiencing or knowing what we know. We're conditioned to talk ourselves out of it, logic ourselves out of it. And as women, especially, our intuitive senses, are frowned upon. It's an empowerment that many don't want us to have. So we may come in with really robust channels as part of our life path. But everybody has those channels there, and you can develop your ability to decondition yourself and be able to experience. Everybody has the right to talk to their guides and have a intuitive connection and reliably trust their own knowing, and having a practice that allows you to get past that and get more clarity is something we're all wired to have. And depending on our conditioning, or trauma, it's more difficult. But playful things that are very accessible, like planet channeling, are a perfect gateway.
Yeah, I love your answer. And my opinion is 100% the same as
Yeah.
yours, and or I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. I definitely believe we are all channels, and it's just a matter of refining and tuning the channel. And I love what you said about the conditioning and being taught from a young age that maybe we shouldn't trust our intuition or we need to rely on logic more. And I remember I was channeling other on other children when
Yeah.
I was a child. And sorry, mom. Mom listens to this podcast, and
Hi, Mom.
hi, mom. I totally embarrassed my mother because I was channeling a child at the McDonald's parking or McDonald's playground, and so
As one
I,
would.
as one naturally would do in the slide tunnel, um, and I quickly learned that I needed to shut that part down, or at least that's what I told myself. And so it's been a really long journey in opening that back up. And I love planet channeling because it is playful and it's kind of funny. And it's an easy gateway back into that part of myself.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I delighted in your um I don't know, has it been 3 or 4 years now when I don't remember when Stellium was, but when you brought through planet channeling, I was so delighted because I don't, the way I work with guides, it's like a big amorphous energy that has, depending on what energies move up and closer, they might have a different feeling, but they don't appear as, a person or a form. And so this was a great way to play with something in that realm. I I don't know if I've ever told you this, but when I like 13 years ago started doing tarot sessions at Psychic Tarot, I also had studied astrology for a long time. So I was giving some astrology readings, and I would spend a day or two because I was a new astrologer, giving readings, spend so much time and so many notes. And I would go and I would sit for the client and I would look down and I would immediately go into a channeled space, and the planets and aspects would start talking in a way. It's like, that's nothing that I wrote about yesterday, but I guess that's what's coming through. So,
That's the curse of a new astrologer is over preparing for hours and hours and hours, and then
yeah.
you never use your notes in the session.
No, no. But I gave it up quite quickly, realizing, oh, it's just a gateway, to the channel. And it's great to be able to have aspects and talk to the planets to get information or context around something if it's important. But it's not specific to, you have to do it this way with astrology. It's
Yeah, no, we definitely don't need to be prescriptive about it. And I'm at the point with astrology where I'm like challenging myself not to make notes and just show up. And that is really stretching me. But I think that's the assignment that my team wants me to take on right now. And it's been really interesting. I might write down some bullet points just to keep some structure, but I let my intuition fill in the rest, or like that body of knowledge that I've built up for years, I let that come and show its face. But yeah, the over preparing is a real struggle.
yeah, yeah. I love the acknowledgement that you can take the body of your work and your own knowing, and you're not getting rid of it. It's part of the lens in which you as a channel can speak from. And it's very useful and helpful and helps you guide a session and deliver, with more nuance and depth than if you didn't have all of that.
Right.
But you're opening to this whole other potential. It was like, well, if I channel with and on behalf of this person who is here, me as a practiced interface for channeling came through some guidance or some reference that's much more useful or potent for them than just giving them the aspect details.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm finding that to be true in my planet channeling sessions. I'll do like half the session, we'll talk about the technical details. And then the other half of the session, we channel the planet and let the planet reveal itself on its own terms. And I'm realizing I think I just want to channel the planet the whole time. But
Yeah,
those technical details, especially for someone who maybe hasn't done planet channeling before, is helpful for them to give them some
yeah,
context within which to receive insight. Yeah,
absolutely. I think both are valid. I mean,
absolutely.
it's marrying the science and art with the channel and the greater information.
It's like the perfect combination. It's like PB and J.
Yes.
So I don't know the answer to this question. This is a total newbie question, but I'm like, is there a difference between psychic, medium, channel, intuitive? Because people just throw those words around, and I'd love to hear from the expert if there
Well,
is a difference.
um, they are all ways that we or terms that we use because we need to put something out on our shingle that somebody can relate with.
Yep.
And intuitive is the most inviting and most accepted one, is to be able to say, "Oh, I'm an intuitive." But anyone who is intuitive is also channeling. They're
Yeah.
receiving from that interface. Anybody who is a psychic is also using their senses, the different types of senses, to sense into that field to bring in information. And the way I look at mediumship is that's a very specific channel and frequency and bandwidth that you're working with as an interface for beings that have passed on in order to perform something that might be very challenging, which is dealing with grief resolution. And so that takes a whole different skill set, I think, soft skill set in being
Yeah.
able to work with people. And if the being doesn't show up to talk, what do you do then? You know, you
Right.
have to be able to say it's not because they didn't want to talk to you. Maybe they just aren't ready or whatever it is. So that's just another part of an aspect that people can focus on or came in with that bandwidth. That was part of their skill set that was going to be really useful this time, and it wasn't squished out of them.
Yeah.
But all of it involves channeling. It's just what do you want to call it? What can you do with it? I think, though, I use the term intuitive guide because I do want people and teach people about using their intuition and getting able to receive their own wisdom and knowledge and connection with their spirit team. I do have sometimes family members show up in a session that have passed on that they know if they deliver a certain message that is going to make a difference to that person. But as a rule, I'm not coming into a session to channel loved ones that have passed on. And being a psychic is kind of I do have a session that I called Psychic Potpourri because people can ask me questions about anything, and I will be open to receiving from that interface information. And sometimes they'll ask way out in the woo-woo sphere questions, and I have no idea, but I'm brought through information, and I didn't even know that was a thing. So it's like, okay, I guess this is happening now. Um, but in the realm of psychic, there are so many people that just open their channel, just open it up to receive whatever, and there's not like discernment or refinement. And so a lot of the bad rap and why people don't usually use the word psychic is because there's a lot of people out there just picking out debris, bringing
Mm.
through stuff that isn't useful. And so, yeah, I resisted for a long time calling myself a psychic, but yeah, I'm an intuitive guide, an energy psychic, a channel. I kind of put it all in there because I do it all. So
Yeah.
they're different in how the interface works, but they're all of the same wiring.
Hmm.
We're reaching out into the greater connection with our higher self and those support systems and energies and information. So that's just extending it, and how you want to do it is how you call yourself. So yeah,
Yeah.
there could be differences, but it's all in the practice.
Yeah. And it sounds like the practice is really remaining clear. And so
Well,
I'd
it
love
is
to
for me.
hear. Yeah, there are some out there who do not.
Yeah.
But I would
Hmm.
love to hear your tips on being a clear channel and what it is that works for you, how you remain clear.
And again, it comes down to practicing being a clear channel for myself. And just because I can be a clear channel for myself, it doesn't mean I always follow the guidance that comes through. I'm not ready. I'm not that interested. But the way guides have bring their information to me is it's always an invitation. It's not an expectation. There's no judgment if we don't do what we write down and say, oh, take these 5 steps and then whatever. There's no higher judgment about whether we do or not. And sometimes it's just like WD-40. They'll give us the information and it works in there for a while and moves things around. And it might be a while before we can say, okay, I'm ready to take that first step.
Yeah.
And so being clear means I'm willing to receive what I get and kind of put myself in the space of it might not make sense now, or but it's always kind, useful, sometimes funny. The longer you do this, your team speaks to you in a way that you have a personal rapport. There's callbacks, there's
Yep.
shorthand that they give, and so part of that being clear is in the setting the container, being embodied, inhabiting yourself. You're not full of all the conditioning. When you sit down, you're not you're not so clouded by the conditioning that would put judgment or censorship or expectations or judgment on what you write or bring through. So that's a practice. And the more you practice, the more you feel into how, oh, that was really clear. I would have never come up with that. That's not me talking. Egoic Angela, flavored me. It may speak to me in silly tones because I love wordplay
Hmm.
and that sort of thing. But being clear for myself means I have to be able to hold a space of, I know I'm working with my conditioning, and how can I continue to open up and be clear? How can I put aside the judgments and the restrictions and continue to practice and continue to show up and do the same for with the client. I ask in my invocation with clients that I be a clear guide, a clear channel, and teacher, facilitator, energy worker. And I also invoke the other spirit team and say, help me deliver what will be of the most help, the most support, the best guidance that this person may be able to take that information and use it in whatever way is in their best interest now or
Hmm.
in the future, or however. I don't have any attachment to outcome other than I'm clear about getting out of the way.
Yeah, that's such good insight. And even today, in my session with a client, I mostly channel through handwriting. And I was having Claire ego up here going, "This is ridiculous. I can't believe you're writing that." But the practice is to just keep writing. And so that's what I did. And it's so interesting to bear that then to the client and read it to them without getting attached to some type of outcome. It's definitely a stretch, but one I'm willing to do.
And it also invites them to do the same.
Yeah.
Hearing from your perspective, you are inviting them into the same clear channel and mirror neurons entrainment. You are providing that energetic space and then sharing what you vulnerably is like, I just channeled this for you. It really does give them the permission of like, oh, that's what it feels like to be in a clear channel. That's
Hmm.
what's that energy feels like to allow it to flow through. So
Hmm.
it's very valuable.
I'm curious, speaking of being clear and showing up and keeping the practice alive, do you have a pre-channeling ritual or something that helps you get in the zone? You mentioned an invocation. You mentioned your room temperature water. Um, is there anything else that helps you?
Uh, yeah, I mean, how I channel for myself is a little more loosey goosey because
Same.
yeah, and but how I channel for a client is a little more structured, and I usually do it the same way only because I've practiced so many times. It's just like I can feel myself shift energies shift into the space, and I can feel the room fill with spirit guides. And so I allow myself to have that ritual of I am creating safe space and invoking protection. I'm invoking my spirit team to allow me to receive and channel, and then I ask the other spirit team if it's a client, and then again it's the trusting the channel, trusting what comes through and allowing it. If I'm doing this for myself, which uh, many people that might listen to this might be new for them, so planet channeling or personal channeling, have the intention to receive. You get what you get. And the other key part is, so if I had to say top five, okay, invoke your space.
We love a list. Virgo loves a
Yeah,
list. Let's
yeah,
go.
okay. So first and foremost, you have to have the imagination being open and willing to do it.
Yep.
Yeah, it's only going to happen if you allow yourself to do it. And then you're going to set the clear space and invocation. You're going to inhabit your body, nobody else there. And then you're practicing receiving, asking the question, receiving the information, and maybe at first do some low stake channeling where the outcome is something you can say, I don't know if I believe this, but I'm going to trust it and I'm going to do it,
Yeah.
because the following of the guidance and accepting the guidance is something that strengthens the channel, that it strengthens your relationship with your intuition and your ability to, even without sitting at a table and writing, ability to feel that movement within you, to feel that guidance. And so following the guidance, start low stakes, and like I said, it's invitation. You don't have to, but sometimes follow the guidance.
Yeah. I notice that, like, when I follow the guidance that the planets have lovingly given me, there's
Yeah.
a trust that builds up between us. And it's like that they can share even more with me. It's like, oh, she listens to us. Okay, we're going to give you some more juice.
Yeah, because if not, then you're going to get some flavor of the same response every time. It's like, okay, well, let's try this route,
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, because channeling is probably new to most of the listeners, I mean, I've been hitting it hard on the podcast lately,
I
but
love it. I love it so much.
but we just went through our top 5. We've got some good tips going. But is there anything you would recommend for strengthening intuition?
There, I have lots of blog posts and things, but really it's being open and willing and ready to receive.
Yeah.
And and that's where we have to come up against our playlist that's in our conditioning and the programming where we kind of have to circumvent that. So even I would say the easiest, if you're not going to sit down and channel, is throughout the day, just do a check-in. It's like, what am I feeling? Get back in your body. You have a bunch of squatters in there, eating all your food and taking a crap on the living room floor, with
Oh,
their bad talk, in your head, and just like everybody out and do a check-in. And that's one way to strengthen your intuition. How am I feeling? What do I think about this? Asking for some assistance, saying, I don't know what to do here. Please help. So just those little things sends up a signal and activates your intuitive wiring that you want to strengthen your intuition, that you want help, that you want a strong relationship that you can trust. So, if you don't have time to sit and ask questions or check in with the planets, then just a daily practice of just talking to your higher self,
hmm
talking to guides. I don't always call on anybody specifically. I say, who's ever in charge of
hmm
this thing, I need some help. And then I expect to receive something, some kind of feeling. And then I go with that. But sometimes the answer is no, because if we ask for something that if we know the outcome, we're not going to do the work, then sometimes it's just kind of, where you're supposed to be going and what to do. You can ask for a million times, but you still have to do the work. So sometimes you don't get the specific answer, but you get an answer or a nudge.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that approach that strengthening your intuition doesn't have to mean you light all the candles and have 2 hours to get into some type of spiritual frenzy and then you
Yeah.
write for 45 minutes and then it's not like that at all. It doesn't
But
have, it
sometimes it
can
be
be
like that.
sometimes. Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes when the mood strikes, but most of
Yeah.
the time I'm like dirty hair, pajamas, like, what's up, planets? And then
Yeah.
maybe 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. But I
Yeah.
love the advice to just pause and to check in with your body. That's gold. So,
Yeah.
my last question is tell us a little bit about how you planet channel. Like, how do you make it your own flavor? Is there anything unique that you do with the practice that you want to share with us?
Absolutely. So if I'm channeling the way I learned from you in planet channeling, I really do let myself like get into the storybook character. You know, I shared on an event that you had previously. Mars showed up and was getting naked and was a total smoke show and
I
just
remember that.
got down to business. And I was like, I'm not a big romance thing reader. And so it was just kind of like, whoo, you know. So I let that feeling of whatever comes through, be okay. And it's just so for me, planet channeling is I really let it be big and
Yeah.
flavorful and I remember the very first time this you did planet channeling and we did Venus, that Venus showed up at this as this big fluffy white goose on a green velvet couch. And I just went with it. It was great. It was a wise goose. So yeah, yeah. So for planet, that's my flavor.
Hmm.
Allow it to be out there. Allow it to be
Hmm.
whatever, set the scene, make it spicy, whatever. But you always provide, depending on the planet or the topic, enough details that you can put those into a character and, you know, scene, and it
Yeah.
starts. And so for me, that's my trick into it is have as much fun and you might spend more time at the beginning setting the scene, but it also gets you into the channel of receiving. It's like, okay, this character went through all of this and
Hmm.
they better lay it down. They better, deliver. And so
Yeah. I notice that I'm an efficient gal. And so I notice sometimes that I resist setting the scene and I'll just go straight into the invocation and straight into the question. But there's so much juice in setting the scene. It makes it so much richer, and the conversations are so much better and deeper. And so I see all of you out there who are skipping this step. I do it too. But it really is, it makes it so fun, so playful, and it really opens up the information, in my opinion.
yeah, because it's a relationship.
Yeah.
It's the best way to practice planet channeling, I think, for anybody who's just starting, is to do that scene setting.
Hmm.
And as you get more proficient, I don't always have time to do that.
Neither do I.
And so, I'm sitting down with my journal and here's my question and let's get to it and let's
Hmm.
go. I've cleared the space and just said, everybody out. This is what we're
Hmm.
doing. Get the information and go. But that's because I've cultivated a relationship that
Exactly.
I can bring it in and it's like a phone call. I don't need to, set the scene and drive to the place or whatever. But I think that aspect of setting the scene is where you develop the relationship. You start to feel what it feels like when that presence is there, what it's like to channel that wisdom because it has a flavor, it has an energetic imprint. It
Hmm.
is creating pathways that allow you access more quickly and
Hmm.
clearly.
Hmm. That's perfect. That's like mic drop right there. Setting the scene is the secret sauce to developing the relationship with the planets as guides. And yeah, I totally agree. Now that I have a relationship and a rapport with them, I can sit down and pose a question and I know that the answer will come. Or I set the scene in one sentence, like the sun, Venus, and I are on lounge chairs on a rooftop. The sun is out. That's it.
Yeah,
And then we go.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was, I think, yesterday's. So, for those of you who are like, this planet channeling thing is really cool, but I still feel like I'm not receiving anything, just play with setting the scene, and that will really open things up. And just keep showing up and keep doing the practice, and your planets will show up for you. So, Angela, I've had so much fun talking with you today. Would
Me
you
too.
like would you like to share with our listeners where they can find you online?
Sure. You can find me on my website, angelaryder.com, and I have a lot of blog posts and some divination games that are free that give many opportunities for you to try different ways on connecting with your own intuition, kind of weird stories of how I got to know my intuition. And I don't do much social media. I don't do any advertisement. So you can find me there. And
Perfect.
I'd love to hear from you and enjoy the website.
Yeah. It's a great resource. So everyone go to angelavryder.com. I'll put it in the show notes and more about Angela in the show notes. Angela, you're delightful. I love you so much. Thank you for
I
coming
love
on.
you. I love you. Thank you for inviting me. I've so enjoyed this.
It's been a blast. Bye.
Bye.
All right, Astro Lover, thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this interview with Angela Ryder. Again, you can find more about Angela. You can work with her at angelaryder.com, and I will talk to you next week.